Hello, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me here this morning on Narcissism 101, Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday morning so far. And it's great to have you all here. Wow, I'm at 61 subscribers now. This is amazing. This is really, really good. I hope, and I said it in a few of my other videos, I hope that by the end of this year, I can hit 100 subscribers. But yeah, thank you so much for everybody who continues to support the channel. Thank you so much for continuing to watch the videos and continue to share it with other people. I really do appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Before we get into what we're going to talk about today, if you would like a one-on-one session, please feel free to email me at paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out whether the person you're dealing with is a narcissist, please feel free to reach out to me. But I would just like to mention again, like I do in all my other videos, if you would like to call, please send a text to the number and let me know your name. Let me know that you've been watching some of my videos, and then we can get on the phone and we can talk. But if you just call the number, I may just block the number just because I don't just answer random numbers, because there are a lot of predators out there. There are a lot of people that just want information from you, and you have to be careful of who you give your information out to, okay? So just remember that. Just keep that in mind. So the topic of what we're going to talk about today, and I was sort of trying to figure out which topic to discuss. But what we're going to talk about today, excuse me, is their rejection is God's protection. Yes, their protection is God's protection. I'm sure you've been through a lot, and like me, you've also been through the narcissistic abusive cycle. You felt rejected. You felt like you didn't mean anything. You felt as though you couldn't do any right. You felt isolated. You felt as though nobody cared about you, that you didn't matter. You thought that your world was going to just vanish into nothing, right? What if I told you that the narcissist's rejection, when they rejected you, what if I told you that that was actually protection? What if I told you that those rejections were actually going to lead you onto something much better than you ever thought? See, the narcissist wanted you to think that when they were rejecting you, that it would make you become codependent on them, right? The narcissist thought that when they were rejecting you, when they were manipulating you, when they were gaslighting you, when they were projecting onto you, when they were isolating you from your family, from your support system, from the things that mattered to you, not just your support, but the things that mattered to you, like your activities, like your hobbies, when they isolated you from all those things, when the narcissist was belittling you, when they were lying to your face, and when they were invalidating your experiences, when you were trying to tell them, that you felt this way or that you felt that way, and then they just sat there and gave you a blank stare, or they just invalidated you and they just said, and they'd start talking about what was bothering them, and then all of a sudden you're the one apologizing. All of a sudden you were the one that was trying to help them, when in reality they should have been helping you. When they did all of these things, when they were rejecting you, they sincerely thought that it was going to do damage to you. They were hoping, in fact, that it did a lot of damage to you, because narcissists, what you have to understand is that narcissists don't have much of a conscience, right? Narcissists don't think that the way normal people think. That's why when relationships end, when the marriages end, etc., narcissists, they don't end like it ends with a normal person, right? It's not like, when you guys are, let's say that you have a friend, let's say, and it's a normal, healthy, stable relationship, or it's just one of those relationships, right, that just end because it just didn't work out. You guys go your separate ways. You move on. You live your life, and you do whatever it is that you do, and you live your own life, right? But see, with narcissists, and I'm talking this way because there's probably somebody new who's gonna watch this video, and if you are new, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate having you on the channel and in the community. Um, when you're going through all these things, and when the narcissist is doing all those things to you, they're hoping that you break, right? Because they do all this to break you, right? And the thing is when it ends, it's not normal. It's not like it ends and you move on. It's like it ends and the narcissist still wants access to you. They're obsessed with you, right? And I know it sounds weird. It sounds really strange that when somebody destroys your life, they're still obsessed with you, right? But it's true, because the thing is that the narcissist, you have to understand, and you have to understand this very clearly. When it ends with the narcissist, they're not really obsessed with you as a person. And I think I mentioned this in one of my other videos. They're not obsessed with you as a person. What they're obsessed with is your supply. They're obsessed with what you offer them, right? They're obsessed with wanting to get what they can from you, and that's why they do these things to you. That's why they hoover people when it ends, because they're obsessed with you, right? But what if I told you that all those rejections, all those things that led you up to where you are now, was actually God protecting you and setting you up for something better? Now, I know it's hard to believe, and especially, if you're new to all this, and especially if, you were just discarded, and if you were, and your marriage or your relationship just ended, or maybe it's a friendship that just ended, maybe you're not in the mood to hear any of this, and I understand. But what I'm here to tell you is that sometimes things in our lives have to end for better things to begin. Let me say that again, because that probably hit home for someone. Sometimes things in our lives have to end for better things to begin. So when it came down to the narcissist and they discarded you, you were probably stuck and trying to figure out what the heck just happened, right? And you were trying to get answers to questions that you would probably never get answers to, right? And that's on purpose, right? And that's because the narcissist, that's what they're banking on. They're hoping that you will stay stuck in time. They're hoping that you will not move forward in your life, because they want to still be able to control you, right? Because they know that they've done this so many times and it's worked so many times, right? So they figure, okay, so if it's worked this time and it's worked that time, then it ought to work this time with this person. But see, the thing with you is that because you found this video and you found my channel, it means that you're very different compared to everybody else. It means that God still has a purpose for your life. Now, I know that some of you may not be spiritual, and that's okay. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. But I've said in many of my videos, and many people are starting to realize that this narcissism thing, it's a spiritual warfare, right? It's more spiritual than it is anything else, right? Because when you think, and I mentioned this in many of my other videos as well, that you have to, when you hear narcissism, you have to immediately think about the devil himself, right? Because if you read your Bible, and I've encouraged many of you to read your Bibles, that in the beginning, when the earth was created, what happened was that Satan, well, his name was Michael, the archangel, he was given everything, right? He could have the whole world if he wanted to, right? But what he decided was that he wanted to be jealous of God, because he wanted to be God. He didn't want everything. Well, he wanted his cake and eat it too, right? He wanted everything, and he also wanted to be God too, right? So what happened was that he decided, when God gave him everything, he threw it all away, right? And then what he did was he tried to make it seem as though he was God, right? When Adam and Eve were in the garden and God gave them instructions and said, don't eat that fruit, right? Because if you eat this fruit, you'll surely die. Satan slithered to them when God wasn't around, right? And he came to them and said, if you eat this fruit, you won't die. And in fact, Eve was like, no, God told us that if we eat the fruit, we will die. But then Satan came along and said, no, that's not true. That's a lie. Where'd you hear that from? And then they started to doubt themselves. That's where Satan was gaslighting Adam and Eve. They were being gaslighted, and now they're thinking in their minds, maybe we are crazy. And then they ended up eating that fruit, and then comes the downfall of humanity. That's where narcissism started, right? In the Garden of Eden, that's where it started, where Satan took reign over them. And then what happened after they did that was that Satan slithered away. right? And then what happened after he slithered away was that they became what? They became naked in the Garden of Eden. And then God asked them, where are your clothes? Why are you hiding from me? And then they start to, make up excuses and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying, the reason why I wanted to talk about that part is one for people who are not spiritual, who are not Christian, like that, who don't understand the Word of God. But I'm also talking about this to show that that when you think of narcissism, you think of the devil, because the devil does the narcissist rather does the same things that the devil does, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that you were rejected, right? And that's the truth. You were rejected, right? Throughout your whole life, you've been rejected by your family, by your friends, by people at work, by the people in your religious organization, if you're religious by any means, you know what I mean. You were rejected, right? But the thing is, and the thing is, you weren't supposed to figure any of this out. In fact, I wasn't supposed to figure any of this out. None of us that are on this channel or who are at this point in our lives, none of us were supposed to figure this out. But the thing is that, like I said in the beginning of this video, things have to end. Things in our life that are not good for us have to end for better things to take place, right? And so when you were going through all your rejections, and I'm sure even these days you're being rejected, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment, it's actually protecting you because there's something better for you ahead. Because you have to understand that not everybody is going to make it the same way you did or the same way I did. Right? Not everybody's going to get this knowledge. Not everybody's going to figure out that the person or persons that they were dealing with were narcissistic, that they were manipulating them, that they were gaslighting them, that they were, throughout their whole life, that they were being smear campaigned by this one person who's wreaking havoc on their lives. Not everybody's going to figure this out, unfortunately, right? And it's just a fact of life, right? But the thing is that you're different, right? That's why you figured it out. I'm different. That's why I figured it out, right? But the thing is that you're being protected because there's better things ahead of you. There's a better life in store for you. That's why you've made it this far. And I know it's hard to understand and wrap your head around, but it's the truth, right? That you've made it this far for a reason, right? And it's for a good reason as well, right? So I can assure you that even these days, right now, that you are still being rejected. You are going through withdrawals. You're losing people left, right, and center, right? People whom you thought were your friends, they're now acting differently around you, right? They're acting strange. You're trying to figure out what you did for them to not want to talk to you anymore. Maybe it's a friend of 20 something years and you're trying to figure out why they're not talking to you anymore. You're trying to get answers to questions that you will never get answers to. Maybe it's that job that you've been working on for so long and you've been working so hard, and out of nowhere now you're being rejected. Now your boss is treating you differently. Now your colleagues and your coworkers, they don't want to work with you. Now it feels as though you're being pushed out of your job. Maybe it's maybe in your religious organization, people in your church are starting to, act differently towards you. They're not, the vibe that you're feeling with you and those people, it's starting to feel like you're on an island, that you're alone. It feels like if the vibe doesn't feel the same, right? All these things, all these rejections are God protecting you from things that are not good for you, right? Maybe there's a guy that you like, that you really like, that you really have feelings for. Maybe there's a girl that you really have feelings for, right? And you really like this person. And things have started off pretty good, right? It seems pretty good that you guys just met, or not just met, but you guys have been, talking for quite some time. You've been getting to know this person and things seem pretty good, right? But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, now they're starting to not return your calls. Now they're not returning your texts. Now they're making up excuses why they don't want to see you, why they don't want to spend time with you. And you're trying to figure out what you did wrong. You're trying to get answers to the questions that you will never get answers to. That's because God is trying to remove them out of your life, because God knows that they're not good for you. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that this person is a bad person, although it could mean that. It could mean that they're not a good person. But what it could also mean is that God has something better in store for you, right? They're rejecting you. Is God protecting you? He's trying to bring something different into your life that's better suited for you, right? Now, like I said, it's not easy. It's easier said than done. I understand that, we're all on different paths. We all learn at different paces. I get that. But what I'm trying to say is that many times the very things that we're chasing are the very things that God is trying to, get us away from, because God knows us better than we know ourselves. Because we didn't create ourselves, right? And if we did create ourselves, then this world wouldn't be the same. We probably wouldn't be here, right? Because the thing is that we were created with our own thoughts and abilities and strengths and weaknesses in our own minds, right? That, who would have thought that we could all, operate, in terms of our body, in our minds and our body, we could all be doing the same things. We all talk, we all see, we all smell, we all hear, we all do the same things like normal human beings. Who would have thought that we would all, be sort of, programmed to be this way, right? But what I'm saying here, guys, is that rejection, when you're experiencing withdrawals and all the rejections and things like that, it's actually protection. You right, so that you can get onto the things that are better for you. Now, this isn't gonna happen overnight, right? It's not like, tomorrow or the next day, you're gonna experience all these rejections, although it could. But what I'm saying is that it happens systematically over time, right? It happens very slowly, right? Over time, you start realizing that, people don't want anything to do with you. The same people you thought were in your corner were actually plotting against you the whole time, right? That happens a lot. This happens a lot in families where, the scapegoat, or the person who, that took all, or the person that was always keeping the family together, that was always doing the right thing, that is me and you, right? Those are the ones that are seemingly being counted out, right? Made to feel like they're nothing, right? But what if I told you that us, the ones that are counted out, we are actually the ones that are gonna be at the top, because the Bible even speaks about that. I think the book of Revelation, that the first will the people that are on this earth that are counted as the first are actually the ones that are going to be the last, and the last will actually be first, right? So what I'm saying is that it may seem as though it may seem as though you feel as though you're counted out right now, but I can assure you that because you're here and because you're still moving forward, it means that you're going to be amongst the first, right? So what I'm saying here, guys, is that there's a purpose for you, right? Them rejecting you, was God protecting you, right? Because the thing is that God is in the places where you are not, right? So because God is everywhere 24/7. So those conversations, because the thing is, you're not around these people 24/7, right? All the time. Right. So you don't know the things that they're saying about you. You don't know the things that, they're doing behind your back. Right. But God sees it. God was in rooms that you weren't in. Right. God saw the conversations that you didn't see. Right. God saw the plans and the plottings that they were doing, behind your back when you weren't there. Right. So this was all to protect you, because God knew that if you saw all of that, you would probably be broken into 1,000 pieces, and then you wouldn't find the purpose, the purpose that He has for you. Right. So it's really important. And I know, it's like I said, it's easier said than done to understand that when somebody that you truly felt for, somebody that you truly had feelings for, rejected you, it's hard to be able to move forward and understand. And you're asking questions like, why did they reject me? Why did I have to go through this? If God was such a loving God, He would have allowed for this relationship to work, or for this marriage to work, or for this friend of mine or person in my life to still be here in my life. Why did all this happen? Well, what if I told you that that wasn't the best thing for you? I'm sorry to say it. It probably wasn't the best thing for you, right? Because the thing is that you probably thought it was. But like I said, there were things that you did not see this person do, because you have to remember too, that not everybody is who they appear to be. Not everybody is who they claim to be, right? There are a lot of people, there are a lot of fake people who go throughout their life wearing a mask, right? Wearing a persona, right? And walking around, focusing on their image, right? And they're pretending to be something that they're not, and they're going around deceiving people. There are a lot of people that are like that, right? And it's hard to wrap your head around that people can be like this, but sadly they are. A lot of people are like this, right? Very few people can be authentic and real like me and you are, right? Very few people can do that, right? So what I'm saying is that a lot of the times, there are a lot of things and people in your life that should not be there, right? But the thing is that because we're humans, because we have strengths and weaknesses, because we are all created in sin and shaped in iniquity, I understand that the things that we do and the thoughts that we think are of this world, and they have to be because we are human beings, and it's just normal that that's what it's going to be. But the thing is that we will all reach a point, okay, where we start realizing that there are certain things in our lives that can't be in our lives forever, right? There are certain people in our lives that can't be in our lives forever, right? And once we start understanding those things, we'll start finding our purpose, that things start to work out, in ways that we didn't think that they were going to work out, right? So the whole point of this video is to remind you that their rejection, when the narcissist threw you away and rejected you, that was God protecting you, right, from something that was not good for you. When that thing or this thing or that thing didn't work out, that was God protecting you from something that was eventually not going to work out. How many times have you applied for a job and it was a job that you had set your sights on and you were excited about it, you were energetic about it, you thought that you had all the skills, you thought that you had all the qualifications for that job, but then when it came down to it, they ended up hiring somebody else and not you? How many times has that happened to you? It's happened to me quite a few times, right? But the thing is that what you came to realize is that that job probably wouldn't be the job for you anyway, right? Because it actually happened to me before, where I had my sights set on this job, and I was excited. I really wanted the job. I ended up getting the job, and guess what? The job ended up not being what I thought it was, and I actually was upset. I felt bad because I was like, I really wanted this job, but I found out that it wasn't the best job for me, right? So what I'm saying is that many times the things we're chasing are not good for us, right? Rejection is God protecting you, right? So what I'm saying is, don't try to chase something that God already has, removed you from, right? Don't try and chase that guy or that girl, that rejected you, right? Don't try and chase them if God is already pushing them away from you. Just let it go. Just leave them, right? Because chances are, doesn't matter how good looking they are or how much money they have, or if they can do this or they can do that, or they can get you into this or get you into that. That doesn't matter, because that at the end of the day, the thing is that they just weren't good for you, right? Maybe they'll be good for somebody else. Maybe that thing or that job may be good for someone else, but it's not good for you, right? Your purpose is different, right? Things are going to happen differently in your life than in their life, right? Again, I'm not trying to say that these things are bad things or these people are bad people. Not all the time. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say that, not everything and everyone is for you, right? When God rejects, when you experience that rejection, that's God protecting you, because that means there's something better in store for you, right? And it took me a while to understand this and really wrap my head around this. There were times where, I myself was, a little bit discouraged and trying to figure my way out. This is when I was younger, my teenage years, and, I'm into my early 20s, you know what I'm saying? But then I started to figure out, that certain things are just not for me, right? And that I'm different than most people are. And you are also much different than most people are, right? There are a lot of people who, for the sake of this video, there are a lot of people who are rare people. And when I say rare people, what I'm talking about is that things just seem to always have a way of working out for them. And the people around them just can't understand that after all they've been through, they are still experiencing blessing after blessing after blessing after blessing. And some of those people are even jealous of them because they are where they are, and they can't understand how they've made it this far. Right? But just know that that's because you stayed the course. That's because there's something better in store for you. That's because you're different than most people are. And I made a video entitled, it's okay. Being different is a great thing. Just embrace it. I made a video. You should go watch that before. I made a video on that with that title before. You should go watch it. But what I'm saying here is that, it's a good thing. Rejection is a good thing. When you find that you're being rejected a lot in life, it may seem like a bad thing, because it may seem as though you're doing something wrong. You're asking yourself, am I actually doing something wrong? Is this something I did? No, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the fact that you're on the right path in life, that you're actually right on schedule. God is right on schedule in your life, and it means that things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to. But they will work out in the time that they are supposed to, not on your time, right? But on the time it's supposed to, on God's time when it's supposed to, right? But you have to do your part, right? You have to stay the course. You have to continue to, stand firm in who you are. Don't let the things of this world get to you, because the things of this world, as you can see in this world, this world is crumbling. You know what I mean? This world is falling apart at the seams, right? But just because the world is doesn't mean you are. Oh my, I just said that. Just because the world is falling apart doesn't mean you are, right? Because you're different. And there's something really good in store for you if you just wait, right? Now I know waiting isn't easy, right? One of the fruits of the spirit is patience. A lot of us struggle with patience. I would say my patience is really good, right? And that's one thing that my ex-wife would push at me a lot, is that I'm so patient, that I'm way too patient, that she would ask me how I put up with her, how I deal with her. But I would always say, it's because I'm doing my part, and it's because I love you too, right? And it's because I care, right? But understanding, what narcissism is now. You know what I'm saying? What happened there was that, she was actually trying to, gaslight me, to make me feel as though I wasn't doing my part as a husband or a man, and things like that, when I was. But what I'm saying here is that rejection, remember this, rejection is God's protection, right? You're being rejected right now, and I understand that it's not easy to receive these rejections. Maybe you got an email that this isn't going to work out, or that's not going to work out, or you try to go for this and it's not working out. What I would say is that that's okay. That means that there's something better for you, right? You have to sort of switch your thinking a little bit, because the things of this world want to distract you. They want to distract you away from your purpose, right? But the thing is that you are here right now, in the right now, for a reason, right? You could have been elsewhere. You could have not made it this far, but you did. And that is a really good thing, right? So embrace that, cherish that. You accomplished something, and you've learned about something now that most people, I would say 98% of the world, will never figure out, or will never fully understand. Because even though people have gone through the narcissistic experience, many people still don't fully understand how evil this thing is, and how much of a warfare this thing is. It's a demon that you're dealing with, So make sure that you understand that as well. That's very important to know as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about today, guys. Their rejection is God's protection. Thank you so much for being here today and joining me here on Narcissism 101, Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Like I said, if you would like a one-on-one session, please email me, paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or please send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out whether the person you're dealing with is a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, if you do want to call, please send a text to the number first. Let me know your name. Let me know that you've been watching my videos for quite some time, and that the narcissistic experience you've been going through yours. Please let me know that first. If you just call, I may just block the number because I don't answer from random numbers, like I said before. So just keep those things in mind. Like, subscribe, share it with somebody who you think could use this knowledge, could use these type of videos. There's a link, two links in the description down below that goes into my narcissistic experience. I spoke on a podcast some years, 2 years ago or so, where I talked about my narcissistic experience and how I made it through. Please watch that video. Share those videos with somebody. There's a part 1 and a part 2 in there as well. Comment, share your comments below. Comment below if you can relate to the things I've spoke about. If you're experiencing rejection, please feel free to reach out. I'd be more than happy to, help you, give you some insight on how to, manage your emotions and things like that. I'll be more than happy to help. So thank you guys so much again for being here today. I hope you guys have an amazing day and enjoy your day. Thank you so much.